Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the All Cardinals podcast. My name is Donnie Druin, joined every week by my main man, Richie Bradshaw. Before we get into the nitty gritty, go to follow our work at allcardinals.com or site.com/NFL/Cardinals. You guys already know the drill. Follow Richie on Twitter at RichieBrads36. Follow me on Twitter at Donnie Druin. Richie, before we even get into football, the Arizona Diamondbacks are in the World Series, and there is a palpable vibe around the valley I have not felt since the Suns went to the finals back in 2021.
Donnie,
I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh.
mhm.
Unfortunately, a Pirates fan, but it's so contagious to root for the Diamondbacks being around everybody else here in the valley.
Donnie, it's just one of those things where when you're doing good, everybody's going to be bought in. And right now, the Diamondbacks are doing really good. But like, what's so cool about it is there was like no World Series expectations for them this year. I don't even know if like playoffs were on everybody's mind. But as you know, Donnie, it's not about being the best team in your league. It's about being the hottest. And we saw the Orioles get taken down. We saw the Braves get taken down. The two best teams in the American League and National League, respectively. And the Diamondbacks are just the hotter team right now. And I don't know, man. It feels like anything can happen right now. You would have to check out some of the similarities between this team and what happened in the 2001 team. Like both All-Star games were in, I think, Seattle or whatever. And both pitchers, Randy Johnson and Zach Gallen, hit a bird in preseason or spring practice. And like there's a bunch of like crazy
I saw the thing
coincidences.
where the dates for all
The
of the
dates
World
all
Series
line
games
up too.
are
Yep.
all lined up too. So definitely something
Sports is
crazy.
poetry, as you know.
Dude, 100%. So everybody here at the All Cardinals podcast, obviously rooting on the Diamondbacks, go to bring it
Yeah.
home. Trying to make it out to a game. My bank account is fighting me every single day against making that decision. I'm sure it'll be a coin toss to see whether or not I blow 6 months of mortgage on the World Series ticket. But you never know when you're going to get the opportunity again.
Exactly.
Speaking of opportunities, Richie, we got our Thursday injury report probably 10 minutes before we started recording this. The biggest news, Kyler Murray completely taking off of the injury report. I want to break that down with you. We're going to go through a couple of the other names really quick. No changes on the Cardinal side of the football. All the three DNPs, Chris Barnes, Kevin Strong, and Elijah Wilkinson, did not practice for a second straight day. Antonio Hamilton, Zach Pascal, and Jalen Thompson limited again. Kelvin Beachum full. And then flipping over to the Ravens side, Keaton Mitchell, the running back, limited on Thursday. So he saw a bump in progress. So too did Roquan Smith after missing Wednesday with a shoulder injury. Marcus Williams, again, just such a great safety, but I feel like he really kind of
And stay
struggles to stay
healthy.
healthy. Yep. DNP again for a second straight day. Odell Beckham Jr. with a shoulder injury, and Adafe Owe added to the injury report with an ankle injury. Both were limited on Thursday. And Kevin Seymour and Tylen Wallace, who was activated yesterday, both full participants. Do you have anything to add on the Ravens side before we get into Kyler Murray?
Roquan is going to play. That is absolute certainty. Put it in tattoo. He's not missing this game. I know Thursday listed him as a full participant. He didn't participate Wednesday. I promise you, no matter what happens, he's going to play in this game. And I think the biggest one to keep an eye on is probably Marcus Williams. But at the same time, their safety behind him, Geno Stone, is leading the league in interceptions with 4 right now. So they are absolutely embracing that next man up philosophy. And this is a very dangerous defense. If Kyler Murray is off the injury report, that's great news. Hopefully, this is not the game that they start him on, because I just don't know if this is the defense you want to mess around with. This is arguably the best defense in all the NFL right now.
Yeah, what a perfect segue to talk about Kyler Murray. So I want to back this conversation up to last week when the team designated him to return. What that means is he was on the pup list to begin the regular season. He was required to miss at least the first 4 games, recovering from the ACL meniscus. The 3-week window means he can practice to whatever capacity, but he doesn't have to be activated to the active roster, though he could be at any time. It's just saying, hey, you chose to activate him now. From this date on, I think the date is like November 6th or something like that. He has a 3-week window to practice. He can play at any given time. The Cardinals just have to activate him prior to that. We are in week number 2 of 3, right? So if he doesn't play this week, he can potentially miss next week's game too if the Cardinals choose to do so. But last week he was limited at all 3 practices. He was ruled out quickly on Friday ahead of week 7 against the Seahawks. Wednesday, yesterday, or depending on when you're watching this, Wednesday of week 8, he was a full participant in practice, and then Thursday completely removed, which means, hey, he was not limited at all by this knee injury. He won't be on the injury report. So they can play him if they choose to. They'll have to officially activate him to the roster, which would be a move done probably on Saturday if they do intend on doing so.
Do you think they should?
No, I 100% agree with you. Not only because the Ravens have such a talented defense, but I mean, I think you don't want to deviate from the plan, and the plan is to have him work through the entire practice window. Just make sure, because you're 1-6, right? I mean, let's be very realistic about these things. Entering 2023, the Cardinals under new GM Monty Ossenfort had done a strong job of positioning themselves to rebuild. Right? They didn't want to say it. It was kind of a like taboo word around the facility. Oh, we're not rebuilding. Yes, you are. You're doing a damn good job at it. But yes, you are. Just because Kyler is healthy right now does not mean he needs to play. You need to make sure he's 100% mentally ready. He 100% knows the offense he's walking into, because we saw what happened to Josh Dobbs whenever he was thrown into the fire with only 6 days of practice ahead of that. Dude, he played against Washington, and all of us were like, "What? Who is this guy? He's not a pastronaut, that's for damn sure, right?" Especially a guy who relies so much on his mobility, Richie. You do not want to throw him to the wolves right away. I say you stick to the script. Either he plays against Cleveland or he plays against Atlanta. The Ravens having a great defense surely plays into it a little bit. I think regardless of who the opponent was, I would not personally roll him out there to Sunday.
No, I think that should be the consensus agreement. Like, not only, like you said, the Ravens defense is really, really, really good, but more importantly than anything else is understanding that there shouldn't be a rush or even really a timetable to get Kyler Murray back this year. Like you said, and as we've all known, like, this is a team that did not have expectations this year, and they're fun to watch, and that's awesome. But that doesn't mean that you need to get Kyler Murray back out there as soon as possible, because it's not like you're anticipating Kyler's return is suddenly going to turn you into a playoff team. It's not. So there's no reason to want to rush him out there against a team that's littered with Pro Bowlers. And if we're being honest, like, that's a great offense too with Lamar Jackson. They're going to put up points, which is going to put you in a situation to need to throw the ball. And there are some damn good pass rushers there. It's the perfect storm for failure for Kyler Murray. Now, with that said, could this be a trap game? Sure. But you shouldn't be rolling the dice with Kyler Murray for a potential trap game.
100%. And I think the whole like long-term scope of things too really needs to be taken into account. I do want to be very clear with everybody listening that I do think the Cardinals are trying to win every single game this season. I don't think they're tanking. And I do think they want Kyler Murray back. They want him to play well, and they overall want to play well and maybe win a handful more games than people thought they would have in 2023. But that being said, it would be kind of borderline asinine to ignore what probabilities lie ahead in 2024 and beyond whenever it comes to Kyler Murray's future. Kyler Murray returning and being 100% healthy physically and mentally is a very, very big thing, not only for the Cardinals, but perhaps other teams around the NFL who might believe they're a quarterback away from really making a push. And the Cardinals deem that the future looks a little bit brighter without Kyler Murray. At least they know he's healthy, and at least they have game film of him 100% ready to go. But the last thing you want to do is really rush your evaluation process here and really try to kind of keep a short-term focus on this. There are such bigger things at stake here than Kyler Murray playing in week 8, week 9, or week 10.
100%, Donnie. It's about playing for the future, not playing for the present for this team right now.
Now, that being said, I think they are 100% playing for the present. They're playing a little bit higher than expectations kind of deem. But the wins and losses just aren't coming like the process would dictate. But I mean, I feel like the trigger word today is process. You have to trust it, right? You have to believe that sooner or later things are going to change in terms of the tide turning, and maybe Kyler Murray is a spark plug. I mean, we've talked multiple times on this podcast about how if Kyler Murray was under center instead of Josh Dobbs, maybe they're a 500 team. Maybe. I mean, but that's hypotheticals. And to quote the great Mike Tomlin, we don't deal in hypotheticals. So moving forward, we are going to talk hypotheticals between the Cardinals and the Ravens entering Week 8 at State Farm Stadium. Yeah. I want to talk Cardinals offense versus the Ravens defense. Richie, I was talking to you before the show. I was making the graphic, and I was curious to see where the Ravens ranked because obviously AFC North guy. I try to keep tabs on all the teams in there, and I see the Ravens playing really well. I just didn't see where the numbers rested.
It's pretty good.
Second least yards per game allowed in the NFL. First in points, you had pointed out to me before we recorded. Number one team in terms of DVOA. They don't generate a ton of turnovers, but when you're that good of a defense, I mean, you kind of just handle it yourself, right?
Do you know what the touchdown percentage on drives they're allowing is?
I can't say I do.
7%.
Really?
7% of the drives that are going against them result in touchdowns. That's it. Like
for every 100 drives,
only 7 of them.
That's crazy.
Only 7 are scoring touchdowns. They have been absolutely lights out this year. Like you've got all pros littered throughout this roster. All pros, not pro bowlers. Like we talked about Roquan. He is such a massive difference maker. When you talk about like the linebacker position, it's a little taboo because you can kind of get away with solid linebacker play, right? But you plug Roquan Smith into any defense and there's going to be a massive step up in production. He is one of the 3 best linebackers in football right now. People can make an argument he's the best. Kyle Hamilton on the back end has 100% turned into the prospect that many believed he was going to be when he came out of Notre Dame last year. He's as close to elite as you're going to find at the safety position. Definitely one of the guys that's rising up. Marlon Humphrey's back to 100%. He is a former All-Pro. He is a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's back 100% from that foot surgery he had. He looks very good. They're getting good production elsewhere. Justin Madubuike on the defensive line. Jadeveon Clowney has been really good this year. Yeah. They've got a lot of players. Like, I don't want to sit here and just gush and gush and gush about the Ravens because I could as a resident Ravens fan. But what I can tell you from an outsider's perspective is there's a lot of really good players on this Ravens defense. There's depth, and it's going to be incredibly difficult to move the ball against them if you were the number 1 offense in the league, let alone the number 19 in yards per game, the number 24 in points per game. It's going to be a very much an uphill battle for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and that's a problem too when you look at Josh Dobbs and the way that he's played the last couple of weeks. I mean, definitely a lot of plays left out there. Zach Ertz is on injured reserve now. James Conner, still on injured reserve for I believe another 2 weeks. And I mean, let's start the conversation there. I mean, the first week Connor was out. It was Keontae Ingram who kind of got the start. Nobody really impressed greatly. Amari DiMercado kind of got the bell cow role last week. And granted, the Cardinals did lose 20-10, but I feel like he ran the ball pretty well. I feel like he definitely earned the right to become the starter this week against a very tough Ravens defense. And my thing is with Zach Ertz out, not like Zach Ertz was anything superb this year. He kind of looked like a shell of his former self. Trey McBride had, outsnapped him the last 2 weeks. It looked like he was kind of emerging as the number 1 tight end in Arizona anyways before the Ertz injury. But you look at Dobbs, no James Conner, no Zach Ertz. I mean, what do you do against this Ravens defense, man? Like, if you're the Cardinals, how are you attacking this?
I feel like you need to be aggressive in this game, and you need to push the ball down the field. And I understand that's not going to be easy because of guys like Marlon Humphrey, because of guys like Kyle Hamilton, and other guys who are playing really well as well. But you need to be aggressive in this game because if you come out too passive, too conservative, and you get down early, then you're going to be forced into those situations. So I think you need to come out with that mentality of we're going to throw the ball down the field. Like you've seen Michael Wilson has had a very successful rookie season, and he looks like a really, really quality number 1 receiver for the team this year. Marquise Brown, really interesting. Don't know if you saw this comment from Marlon Humphrey, because obviously this is going to be a quote unquote revenge game.
Hashtag revenge game, baby.
Exactly. I will tell you this might actually have a little bit to it because the Ravens dealt him and the offense wasn't a fit, and he's made some comments. And
Well, what's the point of soldiers if we're not going to use them?
dude, oh my God, don't even get me started. But anyways, if you did not see this quote from Marlon Humphrey, very interesting. Asked about Marquise Brown, he said, "Well, we got to play against him, and we still respect him and everything, but he's not a guy that you game plan for."
Ooh.
Yeah. So I'm curious if Marquise Brown is going to come out with a little bit of an edge to his game, if they're going to be testing number 44 on the defense a little bit. But the bottom line is, to me, against a very aggressive, very talented defense, the best thing you can do is match the intensity, push the ball down the field. Don't hold any of your punches. Don't pull them. You just need to go stride for stride with them. And if you're getting those big plays, it's going to help set up everything else for you on the offense, give you some momentum, get the crowd involved, and perhaps keep you in this game. But you need to be aggressive in this game. You can't be conservative. You can't be passive.
Yeah, why Michael Wilson continues to only get a handful of targets each week blows my mind. I
Bonkers.
feel like
Bonkers.
nothing but good things happen when you throw the football his way. Now, granted, like he's not Calvin Johnson. Like he's nowhere close to being a finished product, but he is so good.
He's looking really good, though.
He is so good, man. And like Marquise Brown, when you hit him in stride, is still a very, very quality receiver too. And I know there's a lot of questions about his availability as the trade deadline looms on October 31st. But man, I mean, if you have those two pieces, if you can get just one more quality guy who preferably isn't 5'9". I mean, you're cooking. Then you get Kyler Murray back into the mix. Maybe added a few different pieces to the offensive line, which is kind of looks suspect the last couple of weeks. I'm not gonna lie, DJ Humphries hasn't exactly impressed me. Paris Johnson has played well, but I don't feel like he's played like how a lot of people placed expectations on him, kind of thing. But nonetheless,
He's
I
a
mean,
rookie.
still right. And then I did not expect him to turn into Trent Williams from day one. Right, he still has a tremendous trajectory forward. He looks very, very good. Just the last couple of weeks, he's kind of been exposed since the film has added up on his side, but he's still playing fairly well nonetheless. James Conner I did not understand how James Conner was the glue for this Cardinals team until he went out, and just the plethora of names that have tried to take over that role. Same offensive line, man. Nothing has really changed there up front for them. Dude, they're just running into a brick wall, man.
They are. And I agree with your point that James Conner was always going to be a focal point and a very important piece of this offense, but I don't think even the biggest James Conner fans would have predicted that you remove him from the offense, and what was a clicking functional unit has quickly regressed back to kind of what our expectations were going into the year. And the longer he's out, the more it feels like this offense is going to continue to tumble down the standings, down the rankings, and down the production. Like this is a team that clearly needs number 6 on the football field for the multitude of things that he does. But if nothing else, he scores touchdowns, and the Cardinals aren't scoring a lot of touchdowns without him.
Yep, but I think they've only scored 20 points once in the last 4 weeks. The
Is that
defense is
good?
not great, not great,
Okay.
Bob. Not
I
great.
didn't think so, but I wanted sources to confirm.
Before we move on, do you have any like matchups you're kind of circling to watch on Sunday for Ravens Cardinals on the Cardinals offense against the Ravens defense?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned one of them before was going to be Marquise Brown and Marlon Humphrey. To a certain extent, with what Humphrey said and what the Ravens kind of do defensively, is I don't really know how often you're going to see one-on-one matchups consistently. I think that the Cardinals are going to try and get Hollywood in different situations, just like the Ravens are going to move Marlon Humphrey around, because Humphrey can play in the slot, he can play on the boundary, whatever. So when those two are lined up on each other, I am curious how that's going to go, because obviously Hollywood knows what has been said. He has social media, and it's not like this has been a quiet thing. So I'm looking forward to that. And then offensively, I'm looking forward to the Cardinals secondary as a unit versus Zay Flowers, because Zay Flowers has been an absolute sensation at the receiver position this year. He's already got 30 catches. He's on pace for high 90s, if not into the hundreds. He's on pace for 1,000 yards. He only has one touchdown. I don't know if this is the game where he gets another touchdown necessarily, but this is obviously a receiver that is so crafty. He's a smaller guy at 5'9", but goodness gracious, is he a good route runner. And if a guy like Marco Wilson gets crossed up by him, I'm curious how much damage Zay Flowers is going to do to the secondary, which is why I place it on all of them. Jalen Thompson and K'Trell Clark and Garrett Williams and Budda Baker. Williams looked pretty good last week with that interception that he got.
Garrett Williams in his first taste of NFL action probably looks like their best cornerback right now.
Dude, and like that's what you were hoping for out of a third-round pick who probably, as many analysts had said, was closer to a top 50 pick if he had been healthy. But they're all going to be tested by Zay Flowers. He's just a phenomenal route runner.
Dude, Rashad Bateman, too. I feel like if Odell plays, obviously, we know the talent and just raw athleticism that a guy like Odell has, and then kind of shifting the conversation to the Ravens offense.
Bateman
Lamar
can run
Jackson,
fast.
though. Lamar Jackson, man.
He's
there's
really good at
there's a
football.
lot of things you can coach. A lot of things you can coach. Lamar has the it factor that you just cannot prepare for. He gets knocked a lot for his inability to get it done in the passing game. Now, I will say, am I still 100% confident Lamar can lead this like 80-yard game-winning drive against a top team to make it to the Super Bowl? I'm still not convinced quite yet, but what I will say is that Lamar is far better of a passer than a lot of people want to give him credit for. And you add that with his not even game changing, just like NFL street like ability to take off with the ball and
Great
turn
reference.
what would have been a 5-yard sack into an 80-yard touchdown. What do you do? What do you do?
There's like no game planning for this guy.
No.
Because everything can be off schedule. And I want to dive a little bit into the passing aspect, because I don't want Cardinal fans to fall into the same trap that everybody else has fallen into with the whole Lamar can't pass thing, because that's probably the biggest myth in the NFL right now. This dude is close to an elite passer if he's not already there. He has some weapons this year. He's a very good touch passer last year. Definitely struggled with the deep ball this year. Not as bad. He is a very good passer, though, outside the hashes, across the middle, whatever. And the Todd Monken offense is going to give him a lot of different looks in the passing game, which is going to open up a lot of opportunities to Zay Flowers, to Mark Andrews, to Rashad Bateman, whoever else. They're going to get some stuff done through the passing game. But the thing that'll absolutely kill you, and if you look at what Lamar was doing last week, there was one play that stuck out in my mind. They were near the goal line. And first of all, he has a clean pocket. And when Lamar has a clean pocket, that's when he's at his deadliest. But he's got all the time in the world to kind of survey the field. He's not really seeing anything. Starts to roll out to his right. And in years past, where you would see Lamar just take off and, beat you as a runner and score with his legs, he's still looking down the field. And all of a sudden, these two defenders are starting to come in, and he just lollipops this ball up into the end zone and just drops it into a breadbasket for Nelson Aguilar. And I'm not exaggerating. I think the play was almost 10 seconds long. Like, it was remarkable.
He's got a cannon, too.
He does. And this is where the biggest problems come into play with Lamar Jackson. Is you can say what you want about him as a passer. You can call him a running back if you want. But it's the fact that he can do so many different things and beat you in so many different ways. If he wants to run on you, he's going to run on you. If he wants to throw on you, he's going to throw on you. The biggest, and it's such like a stereotypical thing to say, is it's like, you can't stop Lamar. You can only hope to contain him. And that's pretty much the situation you're at. And I promise you, he's probably a little pissed off that the Cardinals social media team when they were doing their Spotify playlist
That was
for
a
everyone. Did
joke.
running
Come
back, dude?
on.
I'm totally messing, but what whiteboard material?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like Lamar and the Ravens definitely need whiteboard material for the 1-6 Cardinals. But
Right, but
I
that's the
mean,
biggest thing, Donnie, is just the unscheduled stuff. Like you just can't prep for it. So again, stereotype, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
dude, and I'm so glad you brought that up because a big thing for this Cardinals defense heading into Sunday is going to be gap and assignment integrity. And where that kind of comes full circle is that the Ravens succeed at almost everything because they can run the football as good as anybody in the NFL, and they have just the like a farm of guys who are able to handle the load in the backfield. Even with the like several injuries they continue to see year after year in that backfield, it just feels like they grow running backs over there, man. And you factor in Lamar's ability to run the football as well. They keep a defense as honest as anybody in the NFL, right? I mean, you can make an argument for like who has the best offense, who has the best weapons. The Ravens do a really good job of ensuring if you don't have your gap integrity right, if you don't play true to your assignment, one of those plays, because it only takes one, is going to bust open, right? So that is so key for a defense that will have Buda Baker back in the mix, should have Jalen Thompson back in the mix after practicing 2 days in a row. It's a beat up secondary. There's not a whole lot of talent there, but Keitrell Clark has flashed a couple times this year. Garrett Williams obviously looks like the guy. Marco Wilson, I'm kind of selling right now. I'm not super confident in
Don't
his
blame you.
ability. Yeah, it sucks, man. But like Kaiser White is still an anchor in the middle, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm curious if you're the Cardinals, how do you game plan for Lamar? Like, do you keep a quarterback spy? Who is that? Do you kind of like four-man rush, try to keep him in the pocket a little bit? Like, if you're the Cardinals, if you're Nick Rallis, what do you do?
I think the biggest thing is we can start with this. Everybody on defense needs to do their 111th because anybody misses their assignment, something's going to happen.
Yep.
So I think where you start is trying to do like a wide pass rush and being able to do a little bit of contain. So you take away the ability for Lamar to scramble out of the backfield and do those bootlegs and stuff like that, right? I think that's where you start. I also like the idea of a spy, but I'm not spying Kazir White. I want him playing
Sure.
Mark Andrews as much as I possibly can. If I'm going to designate somebody to watch Lamar as a spy, I want it to be, oh man, I don't,
It's
I
got to
can't even think
be.
off the top of my head.
Do you play a lot of like single high with Buddha and drop Jalen Thompson as kind of that
I
that
don't
that
know if that's a
rover?
I don't know if that's a terrible idea. I don't know if I personally think I want to do a spy for
Yeah.
the whole game. I think I would rather try and eliminate whatever is going to be happening in the secondary because again, Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews are going to give you a lot of trouble. Rashad Bateman is really fast, and they got some other guys that can do some really good things as well. So I think that my biggest thing is kind of the philosophy of I can take away kind of the deep ball and force everything in front of me and have a sure tackler like Kazir White be able to fly around the football field. I think Kazir White is in for a really big game. If nothing else, I think statistically he's going to be in for a big game. I
He's a dog.
bold prediction: 15 or more tackles for Kazir
Ooh.
White in this game. I
Okay.
think he's going to be so important for what they do. And if they're going to limit Lamar, if they're going to limit the passing game, if they're going to try and hold down the tight end, because Todd Monken really loves the tight end in his offense, it's going to be a lot on Kazir White. So, bold prediction, I'll say 15 or more tackles for Kazir White in this game. Easily double-digit figures. He's going to be one of the key factors in what decides this game. If they have a chance in this game, it'll be because Kazir White's playing like a Pro Bowler.
That's a perfect segue. I mean, we've talked offense versus defense on both sides of the ball. The Ravens have won the last 3 out of 4 coming into State Farm Stadium. The Cardinals have one win, which came in week 3 at home. So maybe a little upset brewing. I think the Ravens are either 8.5 or 9.5 favorites on SI Sportsbook. Any given Sunday, right? I mean, The Cardinals are a team that play very, very hard. It would just take a lot of things kind of culminating together for me to really see Josh Dobbs find his footing again against a very tough Ravens defense on top of the Cardinals containing Lamar and the rest of the Ravens offense. I think Baltimore is going to win. I think ESPN's FPI gives them like an 87% chance to win. I'm kind of aligned with that view as well. In my opinion, it's just a matter of like how much.
Right.
So, I mean, it feels like we're both on the Ravens heading into this matchup.
Definitely on the Ravens. I will tell you this, and this is not betting advice. Let me go ahead and make that very, very clear. It's not betting advice at all. I would not be surprised if the Ravens covered the spread. Or not the Ravens, if the Cardinals covered the spread. Would not be surprised. Because the Ravens, as good a team as they are, historically play down to their competition, and they're going to be on the road. And the Cardinals have been scrappy all year. Could they get blown out? More likely they'll get blown out than they will cover the spread. I would not be surprised at all if this was within 10 points.
I feel like that's the motto of the podcast. I won't be surprised if just whatever happens. Do you have a score in mind?
Yes. Yeah, I'm thinking let's go 27-13. So if the line's 9.5, the Ravens cover. Just keep in mind the Cardinals could do it, but I'll go Ravens 27-13.
I'll go 30-14. I think the Ravens hit the 30 burger this week. Yeah, it's just it's tough for me to watch the Cardinals defense. Granted, they're getting JT back. I know that's a big boost, but man, they're kind of running into a buzzsaw with Baltimore's offense, especially with how hot Lamar has been.
Yep, they've got so many good players, man. They're just going to have to be as aggressive as possible defensively and offensively. And I mean, I just don't know what you do to win this game, but I'm not going to rule them out because it's does this not spell trap game?
No, not to me. Not
at least you're honest. The Ravens fan in me says no. The analyst in me says wouldn't be surprised. Like again, I just said I think they covered the spread. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised.
All right, sounds like we're both on the Ravens. Sounds like we both have the Ravens covering, but I mean, asterisk wherever in the corner. Not betting advice.
Yeah,
let's get out of here. But before we do, Richie, I haven't told you about this yet. We crossed 1,000 subs probably a month or two ago, and I've been saying we're gonna do a giveaway. I've been trying to think of what the perfect giveaway would be, and I think I found it.
Lunch with me and you?
Yes. I think I found it. So to celebrate us reaching over 1,000 subs, we have 2 tickets available for Cardinals-Falcons, which will be in 2 weeks, which could very well be the debut or at least a home debut of Kyler Murray playing for your Arizona Cardinals. Section 131, row 8. Wow. I have 2 tickets available. I'm going to post a video either tonight or tomorrow telling everybody how they can enter to win it. But giveaway time is indeed here. I got 2 of these bad boys for you guys. So thank you so much for all of the support. Really, really appreciate it. More stuff of that coming very, very soon. For Richie Bradshaw, I am Don Drew, and thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the All Cardinals podcast. Follow our work at allcardinals.com or sla.com/NFL/Cardinals. Enjoy the game, guys. Talk to you soon.